I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 11th, 2022 regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting. We appreciate everyone attending and tuning in with us. We're going to open with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. But I'd like to, in the moment of silence, as we stand, to remember one of the really great educators that has come through Garrett County, at least in my lifetime since I've been here in 1977, the passing of Wayne Johnson. Mr. Johnson was a principal, teacher, a JV basketball coach at Southern at one time, many, many years ago, and served on, it seems like, every board in Garrett County at one time or another. When you read his past history, amazing life of service. So a very special person to all of us who knew him, and was a very special person to this county education. So please remember that family in your thoughts and prayers. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by Alexis lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take a motion for the approval of the agenda. So moved by Jason, second by Matthew. Discussion about the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The agenda is approved. Also take a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Matthew. Second. Second by Jason. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. And the consent agenda is adopted. Approval of September 19, 2022 public session minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, take a motion.
I just want to clarify.
Oh, okay.
I didn't make a
Yes.
decision today, but it is in the one that's on board.
It is, and there was also another one, Dr. Miller was not included. She's been at it.
So with those corrections,
I'll make a motion to.
make a motion to approve with those corrections as noted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rodney. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the September 19, 2022 public session minutes as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. They are approved. Approval of September 29th, 2022 public session minutes. Any additions or corrections? Yes, Monica?
No.
No? Okay. Motion by Monica to approve. Second. Second by Matthew. All those in favor of the approval of September 29th, 2022 public session minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. They are approved. And now closed session summaries and announcements for the superintendent.
All right, thank you. The Board of Education met in executive session on Tuesday, September 19th, 2022 at 4:03 p.m. under Authority 3-305 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss the following items. Review of executive session minutes, personnel topics pursuant to 3-305B1, and administrative function topics. Monica Rinker made a motion to go into executive session, and Jason Van Sickle seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried with yea votes from Rodney Glotfelty, Matthew Paul, Monica Rinker, and Jason Van Sickle. Jason Van Sickle made a motion to approve the executive session agenda, and Rodney Glotfelty seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried with yea votes from Rodney Glotfelty, Matthew Paul, Monica Rinker, and Jason Van Sickle. The topics discussed in the closed session included the following. Executive session minutes, August 9th, 2022. Jason Van Sickle made a motion to approve the August 9th, 2022 executive session minutes. Matthew Paul seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried, yea votes from Rodney Glotfelty, Matthew Paul, Monica Rinker, and Jason Van Sickle. Personnel certificated staffing recommendation. Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, shared the certificated staff recommendations with the board for their review. Dr. Wilderson answered various questions regarding the candidates. The board took action on the staffing recommendation in the public session under the consent agenda. Superintendent evaluation, the board discussed plans for the superintendent evaluation. The board did not take action on this topic. Administrative function, the board discussed various administrative function topics. The board considered these topics but did not take any action on these items. Monica Rinker made a motion to adjourn the executive session, and Matthew Paw seconded the motion. Motion carried with yea votes from Monica Rinker, Rodney Glatfelty, Matthew Paw, and Jason Van Sickle. Executive session ended at 5:58 p.m. Mr. Tom Woods, Board President, Mr. Rodney Glatfelty, Board Vice President, and Board members Dr. Matthew Paw, Mrs. Monica Rinker, and Mr. Jason Van Sickle attended the meeting. Ms. Barbara Baker, Superintendent, Mr. Brandon Hoover, Board Attorney, Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, and Mrs. Karen Brewer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, attended all or part of the meeting. Okay, now for announcements. It's a big week in Garrett County for Autumn Glory. We hope everyone goes out and enjoys the festivities. And because of that, we do have some announcements. October 13th will be a staff development day with a 3-hour early dismissal. On Friday, October 14th, all schools will be closed. On October 19th, the State Superintendent, Chaudhry, will be visiting Garrett County Public Schools with details to follow. On November 6th will be the end of daylight savings time. November 7th will be another staff development with a 3-hour early dismissal. November 8th is Election Day, and all schools will be closed. Go on out and vote. November 9th is the end of the first grading period. November 11th is Veterans Day. Schools will be having appropriate exercises. And November 15th is our next Board of Education meeting. That is a change because it was originally scheduled for November 8th. Due to Election Day, it was moved to November 15th here in the central office at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We now have some recognitions that we would like to present to some individuals, and the first one is the National School Lunch Week and the Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Week. Both of those today, Mr. Glatfelty.
So we have two proclamations on school lunches, and I can't tell you my career in public health how important school lunches were to some of the kids, some of the children in Garrett County that it's a one or two meals a day that they can count on. And then the other proclamation has to do with farm to school. And that's a bill that was passed in the legislature last year that requires us to look at local sources for looking at fruits and vegetables. And they're again very important for me as having a farm, and for our children to actually be able to have fresh fruits and vegetables to eat. So we'll do the National School Lunch Week first, and then I'll do the Farm to School second. The National School Lunch Program has served our nation admirably for 76 years through advanced practices in nutrition education. And the National School Lunch Program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our children, of our nation's children. And whereas the National School Lunch Program has been joined through the years by many other excellent child feeding programs, and there is evidence of continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs. Now, therefore, we, the Garrett County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim the week of October 11th through 14th, 2022 as National School Lunch Week, and we encourage all residents to become aware and concerned about their children and their own nutrition habits in hopes of achieving a more healthy citizenry for today and the future. So that's that one. The second one is Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Proclamation, October 10th through 14th. Whereas many of our children live in a world where things are readily available and often believe that fruits, vegetables, and other food products come from the shelf of the supermarket rather than from the farm. And whereas agriculture is a leading industry in Maryland with great opportunities for expanding sales of healthy, wholesome, farm-raised, and locally made products for school lunches, and whereas childhood obesity is a growing concern throughout the United States and Maryland, and local, wholesome fruits, vegetables, meat, and dairy are excellent sources of nutrients that contribute to the overall healthier diet. And whereas our children are our future consumers and decision makers, and when they understand the importance of farming and healthy food today, they can make decisions tomorrow that are more advantageous for the farming community, our environment, the economy, and public health for the future. And whereas the Jane Lawton Farm to School Bill and the Homegrown School Lunch Week provide a nexus for these issues and their solutions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Garrett County hereby proclaims October 10th through 14th, 2022 as Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Week in all of Garrett County Public Schools, and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of Garrett County to recognize and support this action. And there again, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the wonderful job our food service folks did when we had the pandemic and children were stuck at home, and actually delivered, I believe it was over 1 million meals during that period. So they did a great job, and I know they'll continue and doing a great job in the future.
Yes. On behalf of the entire Food and Nutrition Services, where would you like us? You want us right there?
You don't want to be the backdrop.
You don't want to?
Well, bad backdrop.
Shoot this way. Go 1, 2, 3. A little bit closer, get the board members out there real quick. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Pass along our thanks to your entire staff. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our local farmers and producers for everything that we get from them. We've gotten several things from Atlantis far before, so we hope to get it bigger. We want more local.
And what was something that they got to eat for local, when it was local week, Mr. Jermaine? What was one item that was local that kids got to eat?
I was afraid you were gonna ask that question.
Well, did you have sausage before you had sausage?
We did not have a lot this year because the date came this late and we had to get our orders to our providers early. They wanted it in August and we didn't know the date for this. So we kind of didn't have the advantage of getting as much local as we would like to have gotten this week. So.
And it's kind of late for local.
It is, because the frost just happened a couple
I
nights.
complain about that every
Yeah.
time. And this is actually later than normal for them.
Yeah.
It's just really frustrating because I think they should be giving us the date for next year right now so that we can start planning and then we can start coordinating.
Mhm.
But they didn't give it to us until September of this year. So it was really a struggle this year. So, but we always enjoy doing the local stuff, and I think our students seem to enjoy it too. Yeah, not everything, but I think that's to make plans. We are doing it plant farmer Johnson, so it is something we're doing already.
We're gonna lose them next week, so I've got to get them all fixed.
Yeah, we will.
Parmesan and green peppers, we still have a lot of.
Anybody interested in buying some good local grown fruits and vegetables at a good farmer's market on Friday and Saturday, that's up here at part of Autumn Glory, and then there's one down at the college on Sunday. So please go see what our local farmers are producing and buy a lot of fruit and vegetables.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next presentation is National School Bus Safety Week. Mr. Rinker will do that.
So the National School Bus Safety Week proclamation is October 17th to the 21st. The theme, one bus plus one driver equals a big impact on education. Whereas children are our nation's most precious resource, representing our nation's future and protecting their needs to be on our highest priority. And whereas America's school buses comprise the largest mass transportation fleet in the country, being 2.5 times the size of all other forms of mass transportation combined. And whereas school buses meet higher construction specifications and inspection standards than any other vehicle. And whereas school bus drivers meet higher qualification, training, and testing standards than any other drivers. And whereas National School Bus Safety Week, which dates back to 1966, recognizes the hard work and dedication of school transportation personnel, especially the many school bus drivers who ensure a safe journey each and every day. And whereas the thousands of pupil transportation professionals throughout every state work continuously to promote the safety of our nation's school-age children and to improve upon an already stellar safety record through national conferences, driving and poster competitions, and local media promotions emphasizing the importance of school bus safety both on and off the school bus. Now therefore, we, the Garrett County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim the third full week in October as National School Bus Safety Week and encourage all citizens to recognize the hard work and dedication of pupil transportation professionals,
the excellent safety record of school bus drivers, the benefits of school bus driver training, the importance of students obeying safety rules at all times, and the need for heightened vigilance on the part of all vehicle drivers when in the vicinity of school buses. And this is dated October 11, 2022.
Okay, for the group here this evening to accept this, I have Mr. Gerald Harmon. He is a school bus contractor in the north and actually the president of our association, responsible for 2 buses, Bus 10 and Bus 15. All right, and we also have Mr. Robbie Boswell here, who is here as the southern representative. He is the grandson of Beth and Hoover Myers, representing their company. They're on our 4 buses that operate here in the southern part. All right.
Thank you. And I believe today you have bus inspection in the southern end of the county?
Yeah, a couple now. We have bus inspections going on. Kids are participating in bus evacuations. And also, starting tomorrow, Garrett County, we're hosting the Maryland State Convention for all the school bus directors, MSPE at WISP. It starts tomorrow. So they're all in town. They're arriving tonight. Superintendent Baker will welcome them. And we're also, each bus driver will get a little token of appreciation this week from the transportation staff.
I think our 2 drivers and contractors could tell you, when I welcome them to a new school year, you know, you see on TV, on the news, all the time through the pandemic, how difficult it was to get drivers and to get people to drive during the pandemic. And I always tell them how grateful I am because we did not, our drivers, our contractors are so loyal. And it means so much because we didn't have that issue in Garrett County. And it was so nice to know every day there would be somebody transporting our kids safely. So thank you so much, always, for everything.
1, 2, and 3. Go with it. 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you very much.
At least it's on screen.
Great.
Probably give a good smile.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Alex, thank you. And our last recognition, National Academy of Engineering Award recipient. This young lady, we hear about and see a lot. So we'll make that recognition right now. And Mr. Van Sickle will do that.
Great, thank you. Ms. Laura Holskamp, an 11th grader at Northern Garrett High School, was selected as Engineer Girl Ambassador by the National Academy of Engineering. She was selected as one of 24 girls across the country. Engineer Girl Ambassadors design, develop, and implement projects in the local community to spark young girls' interest in STEM. For her project, Laura will host sessions where girls will read about the journey of a female engineer and solve engineering challenges using hands-on LEGO activities. Laura and her sponsor, Ms. Arlene Lance, recently attended the training in Washington, D.C. at the National Academy of Sciences, where they participated in workshops about teaching essentials, practice ways to work with diversity in gender, culture, equity, and meet accomplished female engineers. They also had the opportunity to network with fellow Engineer Girl ambassadors. We're also talking about that. I thought it was. Engineer Girl ambassadors and sponsors from around the country. Laura and the other ambassadors provided hands-on STEM workshops for middle school students in the Washington, D.C. area. Laura is the president of the Garrett County Association of Student Councils, service coordinator for the Maryland Association of Student Councils, participates in Northern Garrett High School's mock trial team, is a 4-H member, and a member of the G-Force robotics team. Laura completes hundreds of hours of community service each year and enjoys working with youth and paying forward STEM enthusiasm.
Laura, do you know what kind of engineer you hope to be someday?
I do not.
Do not? Okay.
We had a long discussion to DC and back about that.
What'd you say?
So we had a long discussion to DC and back. That's okay. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, she will.
1, 2, and 3. Go again. 1, 2, and 3.
No matter what she does, she'll do a great job at it.
Mom, You wanna
Need a
go?
picture? I don't need a picture, thank
I
mean, I got it.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, no.
You want to be the time.
She was on her right.
She already, she already had
You were right the first Laura, good luck. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm sure this is not the last time you will be
Yes.
at the board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next, new business is the comprehensive maintenance plan for education facilities. It is a draft. You presented by Mr. Kozlowski.
Hey, good evening. As it is a draft, not a lot of change, that has more or less updated the information, the format, pretty much stayed the same. We didn't have any changes in staffing, on our side with regard to that. I updated some of the funding sources, you know, the different numbers that we received this year. I did note that there was a decrease in our operating budget. However, just to make the, as a note, working with, Ms. Schweitzer, we agreed this year not to purchase a vehicle and a larger piece of equipment, just to kind of delay that. So the budget was decreased, so it wasn't like, it says, I have to cite it for the state that our budget went down, but that's the rationale. We're not gonna purchase a vehicle, this year. So through that, I talked about some of the enhancements we're looking at with health and safety, and a lot of that is also cited in the CIP. The work orders, we did 1,685, and when I say we, that's the group. I cannot commend, the maintenance team that we have under the leadership of Matt Zimmerman. They're great to work with, very knowledgeable. What they bring to the school system behind the scenes especially, very responsive, do a really nice job for us. It's, when we get our annual inspections on some of our facilities, those things are duly noted, with regards to how credible they are and how good the job that they do. The comprehensive maintenance plan is in there. This is everything that the group has identified to try to do, for the FY '23 as part of the budget, along with the CIP projects. You can kind of see that, that's been updated, and I think and then some of the schedules at the back that the state's looking forward with regard to paving, boilers, and our roof restoration, has also been updated. Okay, so there's a lot of new data, not a lot of change in formats for you to review. I'll be back for approval at the next board meeting. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
When you look at page 7, you've highlighted, it says GCPS currently has an estimated 133 million of identified backlog facility needs.
Yes.
Looks like it's an increase of 18 million from last year.
Yeah.
That shows that we have to do some things to facilities.
Yeah, and I think some of that was as a result of the CIP numbers. I think we have a better number on what we're trying to do at the project here. We have better numbers on the roofs, I think, than the past. So we've been updating that. And I believe I did 3 or 5% just kind of across the board. That might be a little low with what we're seeing, but just kind of up to that.
Yeah, because the increase of inflation.
Yes.
Page 9.
Okay.
The fourth one down, athletic facilities. It says in fiscal year 2023, there is 200,000 allocated for indoor and outdoor bleacher improvement. This state funding is dependent upon legislative action and is one-time funding.
Yes.
So do we think that we'll probably get it from the state?
We have received that.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, we got 1.1 last year, which we took care of the lights and some of the fencing, and we still have a balance of that. And now we'll add this 200 on top of that balance, which is going to leave us we're honing in on the bleachers. We have a need for some outdoor bleachers at the stadiums, and our indoor bleachers in the gyms are in need of being replaced.
The indoor bleachers at our high school?
Yes, our high
That's what I was
schools.
thinking, okay.
Yes, that's what that,
So should we keep that sentence in there, this state funding is dependent upon legislative action and it's not funding?
I think that was intended to say that we don't get this, it's really dependent on the legislature.
He said we already had it.
Yeah, okay, I can adjust that sentence.
Okay, well, I mean, we had it.
We had 3 years in a row. And I'm not sure if, and then with the change in the group this year, I'm not sure if at the breakfast we'll bring it up, but I'm not sure what kind of pool we'll have to get, because we got 1.1, 1.5, 200, so I don't know. But we'll take it.
We'll try.
I can adjust that sentence.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus. We received some of it.
Yes.
On page 15, under the third one down, rear parking lot paving, Northern High School, funding source, local CIP. Does that mean our county commissioners?
Yeah.
CIP?
Yeah, we have,
That's what I thought.
we have approval for that.
Okay. Page 16, the third one down, it says it's under central office. Asphalt patch parking lot with cold patch. What does that refer to? Like at the, right here and back?
Yeah, we're responsible for the bank parking lot
Okay.
as part of our MOU with them.
Uh-huh.
So we just, when little holes pop open, we just put some cold patch in there and kind of stamp them down. It's not perfect, but at least it gets us through, eliminates the hole, the pothole.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
And then when you have, one above that, pressure wash front entrance, was that to rent the man lift? Is
Yeah,
that what we did? 'Cause I see it in the
yeah,
plan.
we actually patched the leak here. We're gonna fix the drywall. So that's what you saw
Okay,
the
that's
south
what
side
I,
for.
yep, that's what I thought would be the rent the man lift. Under Cullen Elementary, it has installed air conditioning in all classrooms. Do we have that completed?
That's done.
That's what I thought.
I recently got a request to add the nurse's office that we're, the nurse's room. So we're looking at that also.
Okay. Page 18, Southern High. It says assist with installing, it's the last one, sorry, last one or Southern High. Assist with installing JROTC obstacle course at the old stadium.
Yes.
Does that refer to the football stadium?
Yes,
Bill?
where the bleachers, where we move the bleachers.
Yes.
They're gonna put, ROTC is gonna put like an obstacle course, a lot like it's at Northern. Same concept. They got all the materials donated. When we assist, we're gonna drill the holes and do some things.
Okay.
But there'll be something on that old pad of,
Okay,
stadium.
so it's more where the bleachers are setting, so, because I think don't some teams use the field to practice in?
yeah, the field,
Okay.
but this is.
So, okay, that was my question. It won't,
it won't-
impact the,
Visitor bleachers used to sit.
okay, so it doesn't impact the.
They're actually where the home,
Where the home bleachers used to sit, yeah.
Okay, so that's good, doesn't impact it. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Since you're on that page, the building install lifeguard chair at Hickory Environmental, didn't we hear a couple months ago that we're trying to sandbag in that pool and?
Yeah, we did this, some of this work was reflective of what we did at the beginning of the summer, as part of the beginning of the year. So we did build a chair real fast for them,
So it's already.
yeah. But the pool is gonna be off the CIP, yes.
Using the car. So-
Using the truck, yeah, absolutely.
is the plan, Rich, to no longer use the pool at all?
The Hickory?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's being recommended by Mr. Shank there.
What will we do?
Well, we
Fill it in?
Yeah, we'll fill it in, and then there's a discussion about what can we then use those dollars potentially to add to the CIP to enhance his program, and he's kind of doing some brainstorming. He wants to put a yurt there, maybe something that'll enhance that. So he's gonna get back to us on what we want to do, what he wants to do there. Yep,
Yeah, that was somewhere in the notes to use the,
Yeah,
it's gonna save us a lot of money,
a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of liability.
a lot of liability.
yeah.
A lot of liability. At the top of 17, if I could just add one quick one, it said under, provide and install additional storage cabinets, it's under Yacht Glades. What's the $12,000 northern? What does that mean?
I don't know what that is, I'll have to check on that, $12,000.
Oh, I think it's,
I don't, I'll get back on
I
that.
don't know if it's a typo.
Yeah, it might be a typo. I don't-
accidentally.
Yeah, I did it in there, but maybe it's some force that. You think,
On page 18, under Hickory Environmental, it says complete an office renovation, health room addition. So will we be adding the health room one or taking a section of the building and making it a health room?
We will add on to the back of the office.
Uh-huh.
We got delayed, we just got the permits. We were awarded through the IAC what's called a pass-through grant. This pot of money, and we received, I know Mr. Clark thought he was gonna say, we got 36,000 of millions of dollars. And so we're gonna earmark the 36,000 as the pass-through grant to add the health suite now onto the back of Hickory.
So when we need a nurse down there, it'll just be the staff that's there. I guess that'll be a discussion for later.
That'll be to the staffing gurus around here.
So ultimately, will it not be ready for use until next school year? Or?
Yeah, the pass-through grant will come through in March, so yeah, it'll be a spring project to be ready for the fall of next year.
Okay, fall 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the groups that use it, Camp Hickory, bring their own nurse, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. On several of them, this is something that, I guess might be new on here. It said replace plumbing fixtures for lead, remediation. So like it lists some of our schools, but not all of our schools. So does that mean some schools already have it done, or how does it
Well,
work?
the schools with wells don't qualify, so that would be Swan Meadow and Route 40. You shouldn't see that on there.
Okay,
And the majority of this work you see is just to replace a water fountain with a bottle filler that was a request to the schools. So a lot of times when you do a water fountain, we test it and you have to flush it and those things. So we just, with the need for the bottle filler and to eliminate that process, if you see some of our water fountains, you'll see a sign on it that says appropriately flushed before used. We tested everything for the state and the law changed, but we were still good on everything in terms of parts per billion in terms of that. So we identified at least the water fountain, since there was some need there, and kind of put them together to go ahead and replace some of them. So a lot of them are in the cafeteria, stay in the cafeteria, or in the cafeteria around our gymnasiums. And a lot of kids now have that water bottle, and it's just it's a quick way to fill that.
so then we're removing some of the water fountains and putting this in place of it?
Yes.
Yeah, the student council's brought it up several times through the
Yeah.
reopening and recovery plan, and it's been a conversation for a little while now, but we're actually getting it
Yes, it's good.
installed, so.
We'll get it solved.
So that means then the students have to have their own bottle to put the water in. Okay. And most
I mean, not all of the water fountains are being turned into
Right.
bottle fillers. There will still be regular water fountains as well that people can use, but there will be, in addition to water fountains, water bottle fillers.
those are more convenient to fill your bottle versus,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other, anything else?
I have like 3 or 4 more questions. Okay, page 19, estimated cost for backlog maintenance and CIP projects.
Yeah.
When I compare them to last year, like Southern High had over $3 million increase, it looks like. It looks like their big ticket item was the air conditioning.
Yes.
That brought it to that number.
Yeah.
Broadford increased by like 14 million, and it was said the open space conversion, those 2 pages behind it.
Yeah, I believe I adjusted that, and I had an updated quote on the roof too. I think the roof went to $4.5 million, I believe.
And then Southern Middle increased by like a little over $1 million.
Yeah. That number's kind of lining up with the process we went through last month.
Yeah, so like it's an increase that looks like over almost $18 million from last year to this year.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna do some of that, right? So,
Correct.
so, but we're still looking at it, this is on, cost of backlog maintenance. So
Yeah.
when do they come off? When do they?
As soon as we get the approval for the projects.
Okay.
As soon as we know it's a go, then we'll go back and adjust accordingly.
Okay.
When you look at Crellin on page 21, their big ticket item, it's new, was on there last year, $250,000. Relocate front office to the exterior of the building and add security vestibule. So what's that mean, relocate runoff to the exteriors, like on the front of the building, like enclose the
Enclose the
roof?
porch. Bring and create a security vestibule in front office under the porch.
Page 26. When I look at the roof, and it has on there, you have your, like, PR, partial replacement, R, restoration, and TR, total replacement, which we have scheduled out years down the road for, partial replacement, total replacement. But I guess my question is, when I look at it, Broadford, I mean, it should be replaced, but, from after last month, then there's no need to have it on there as a replacement.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of them, like Swan Meadow had one 2021, it's like, I guess my question is, Crellin doesn't have anything on there, like that it's been replaced or to be replaced. Northern High, so like, have we replaced them lately, like Crellin?
Yeah, Northern High is not eligible yet in terms of the years, as like Northern Middle, Southern Middle, it's 25 years before they'd be eligible. So as the years go out, then, yeah. And we added Southern High this year, and that's a partial. There's just some of the sections from some of the renovations that happened, or additions.
Yeah, you did the library, I think, at the time, different ones, yes. So Crellin, have they had one, in the past 25 years?
I'd have to go back and look for the past. I know that, I'd have to go look at the age of the kindergarten edition also. I don't know what that's a shingled roof on that part. I'd have to look at that, the age of that.
Probably late 1990 some, early 200s.
Okay, I can look at that.
My other question, okay.
One note, Yawk Glades, I'll edit that to an R. That's a restoration, because it's the metal roof already.
Okay,
We would just make the repairs as needed and repaint that as a restoration.
okay. So do we have more metal roofs than we do the other now?
No,
No.
we have Route 40,
Yeah,
Yawk Glades, and, Swan Meadow.
Well, meadow is that, yeah. So just 3 are metal. On page 27, when you look at the Dennett Road, Education Complex, it has proposed for a boiler replacement in 2027, and it was 2,000? It looks like, right, age of boiler? So I guess my question is, like, I look at some of the other ones, like, well, Crellin said 1998, Yawk Glades said 1997, Swan Meadow 1998, you know what I mean? And they have been replaced, correct? Since that's when they were last addressed, is that what that would mean, if I'm
Well,
understanding it?
They're not identified, they could have been done before FY '20.
Okay, so they might have,
This is picking up from 20 through 29.
okay.
So I'd have
so
to go
they
back and
could've
look at other comprehensive plans to see if they were done prior to 20.
been- Okay,
Yeah, the Dennett Road, that's as a result of the CIP proposed, potentially. If we do that to that building in that year, we would replace the boiler as part of that.
okay. So I guess when I look at the age of boiler, it might have already had something replaced in it then, like that.
Yeah, prior to 20, yes.
Okay, from the year that they were on there, that's what
Yeah,
because I thought, well, that one looks like that's the newest,
right.
2000, but yet we have it before the other ones. Okay. I have one more.
anybody else have anything while I look at my, I have one more here. Okay, I guess that's it. I guess most of the other ones are my CIP then.
Any other questions? Okay, here's a draft, again next month. Corrections, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, we move on to the virtual learning plan. This is an action item for tonight. Dr. Miller will make that presentation.
Okay, thank you. So for consideration for the board tonight, I'm going to be presenting the virtual learning plan for this school year. And we'll go ahead and start with some of the background information. Obviously, you know that we did implement a small version of a virtual plan last year for inclement weather. This is very similar to that plan. There are a few nuances that are different based on MSCE guidance, but in general, you'll find that it's very similar to what we proposed last year. So if you go to the first slide, I'll give you some of the background. So the state, after successful implementation last year, has given LEAs, our local school systems, permission to move forward with repurposing specific days as virtual instruction days for this school year. One thing that is slightly different is they have expanded the options that we can potentially consider for these virtual days. They obviously still consider the inclement weather, but also it can be considered for staff professional learning days, high school graduation days, or other similar circumstances as well. They have defined the number of days for the school systems. We can use a total of 8 virtual days. The virtual learning days may be synchronous or asynchronous. However, no more than 3 of the 8 days are allowed to be asynchronous. So that's some background. And then on the next slide, you'll see the attestations that the superintendent has to agree to in order to implement this plan. So when we think about last year, I think there were 5. This year there are 10, I believe, but they're all definitely doable. We do have to provide a minimum of 4 hours of synchronous instruction for all students on each synchronous virtual day. There will be no more than a total of 8 virtual days. There will be no more than 3 asynchronous virtual days out of the total of 8 possible. Attendance will have to be taken for all students and teachers during virtual learning days. For the asynchronous days, a transparent process for attendance will be implemented. Virtual days will not negatively impact a student's grade. There will be meaningful opportunities for students to make up work outside of virtual learning. It goes on to the next slide. The virtual days instruction plan will be presented at a publicly accessible local Board of Education meeting. That's what we're doing tonight. Parents will have an opportunity to provide comment on the plan as well. And you all have to vote in favor of the plan for it to go to the state superintendent. The virtual day instructional plan will be posted on our school's website upon approval. No employee's pay will be negatively impacted by the decision to have a virtual day, and use of virtual day for any grade or grade band counts as one of the school system's virtual days. So those are all of the attestations that we do have to agree upon in order to implement this particular plan. We do also have to follow up tonight's conversation and decision with an application to the state superintendent for review and approval. And of course, tonight we're satisfying the responsibility of having this come before the board for discussion and approval. So in our plan, we are looking at 2 recommended uses for virtual learning this school year. We would like to use synchronous virtual learning on inclement weather days up to the limit of virtual instruction days permitted by MSCE. And we are proposing 1 asynchronous virtual day to be held on the 91st day of school, which is currently scheduled as a half day for students. If you go to the next slide, it will share a little bit more about those 2 options. So for the synchronous virtual learning days, we obviously would like to use this as an option for our students in our school system. We will make sure that virtual learning days are announced in advance at the discretion of the superintendent. We will still have traditional snow days and 2 or 3 hour delays when appropriate. And we still have the opportunity to use our makeup days that are specified on the school calendar. And we would use our standard protocol in order to do that. So we have those stipulations in place, but in addition, this will be another tool in our toolbox should we know in advance that we're going to have a significant storm for the superintendent to be able to call a virtual learning day as well. Okay? I saw 2 hands. Thank you, Jennifer.
We probably ought to, I guess, following Robert's Rules of Order, we need to have a motion. You know, when you go ahead and finish, let's do that.
Okay.
Then we'll have a motion in a second, then we'll have discussion.
Okay, perfect. So that's the synchronous days. And if you recall, we have a total of 8, so we could use up to 7 of our days for inclement weather as synchronous virtual learning days. The asynchronous virtual learning day that we're proposing is for the 91st day. That is currently, as I said, designated as a professional half day at the end of the first semester for teachers to finalize grades, plan, and complete other necessary tasks. On this day, we would propose that all staff would report on site. Students would participate at home asynchronously in virtual learning, and the plan will allow for greater time for teacher planning, school improvement work, or professional development while leveraging virtual instruction options to support student learning. It also allows us to address the fact that the 91st day is always a very difficult day for our community. It does move, and it would continue to move based on snow days. However, whenever the 91st day actually occurs, if there would be a snow event, it wouldn't matter for students. Students, parents, and families would be able to plan that day, whatever it happens on that 91st day, it would be an asynchronous virtual day. And so childcare could be planned and such. In the past, we have had 2-hour delays on that day, and then that moves a day to the 91st. The 91st day has to move to the next day, and it's just been a challenge. So that's one of the other reasons why we are recommending that we try something different for that day.
One question, could you just explain, someone's watching, what asynchronous, if we might have, wasn't in school last year, so parents might know what asynchronous and synchronous means?
Synchronous learning means live instruction that happens through a virtual platform. So either Google Meets or something like that. Asynchronous is when we post things on Schoology and the student does that work independently.
So the teachers are going to be in school.
Providing the synchronous instruction. If they do not have internet at home, then they would need to come to a school site in order to get internet. The asynchronous day where we are planning on the 91st day, everyone would report on site for that day because we're planning on it in advance and teachers would be on site to complete their work. Okay, so the next slide, these are just some of the components in the plan that we have to highlight for the state superintendent. I'm giving you kind of the 50,000-foot view. Access to instruction is one of those components. Of course, all of our GCPS students and staff have a GCPS-issued laptop that can be taken home to access Schoology assignments and synchronous learning. Students without internet access will be given hard copies of assignments in advance when possible, and teachers will be expected to provide meaningful direct instruction to students as needed upon students' return, should that be needed for someone who doesn't have the internet. We do have to have a section ensuring that accommodations for students with disabilities are implemented, and so we will make sure that all of our special education services will continue as outlined in the student's individualized education plan. All of our students with 504 plans or English language plans will also receive their accommodations, and any paper assignments will be individualized and accessible. We do have to have a communication process as well. Certainly, GCPS will provide as much notice as possible when announcing virtual learning days for inclement weather. And GCPS does intend to notify schools and the community as soon as it is feasible the day before a virtual learning day. That is very much the same as the process that we used last year. Upon plan approval from the state superintendent, GCPS will announce the asynchronous virtual learning day for the 91st day, because we know that if this plan is approved, we know that's going to happen regardless of whether it will become what we do for the 91st day for this school year. So we'd be able to announce that right away. GCPS will also post at the virtual day instructional plan that will be posted on our main page of our website and obviously all of our media outlets as well. And in that plan, there are additional details with sample schedules and attendance policies. And that's again, very similar to what we did last year. Schools will also communicate the virtual day instructional plan to their communities as well as individual school-specific information prior to the day of the event. Attendance policies will also be detailed very clearly in our official plan that will be posted on the website. However, this is kind of a high-level view of that. Students will be expected to be present for live synchronous instruction online to be counted present. There is an exception, of course, if students don't have internet in the location of where they live. They will be marked present upon submission of work the following day. If a student is absent for instruction, their absence will be coded as an excused absence, regardless of the reason. GCPS will follow the make-up work policy found in the Students' Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. For the 91st day, we have a little bit different of a policy for attendance just because it is an asynchronous day. Students will be marked present if they submit their work through Schoology at any time during the day on the 91st day. And again, the exception is students without internet will get marked present if they turn their work in the following day. And again, detailed procedures for attendance will be in the final approved plan posted on our website.
Okay, so do you have a recommendation?
Yes. I recommend that we approve the virtual learning plan for this coming school year. It is not a significant change from last year, and I think the 91st day will be much appreciated by parents and the community. My recommendation is to approve the plan.
Okay, the superintendent's recommendation to approve the Garrett County Virtual Learning Plan. Is there a motion as such?
So moved.
Moved by Jason. Second?
Second for purposes of discussion.
Okay, and that's what we need it for.
Okay.
Can I have any discussion questions you might have? Ron?
So this seems like a very general outline of what you're going to do. Is this actually what you're submitting to the state, or are you doing a detailed plan? Are you going to?
The plan for the state is more detailed. It has some additional granular information in it. For example, it has the student schedules.
The reason I asked that question is, shouldn't that be what we're approving instead of this?
Well, I mean, we certainly we have that ready to go, but last year, this is the same, very similar presentation for last year happened, and so I used the same format. It was a high-level view of the plan.
I understand the question. I'm you won't send this into the state, what you submitted, what you showed.
Everything that's in here is also in the state plan. The plan that is going to, the state plan has some additional details spelled out as far as the schedule. But again, nothing changed with the schedule based on what we approved last year. The schedule is exactly the same.
Yes, go ahead, Jason.
Sorry. My only question is, why are we, so if we get through our bad weather months, right, and we see that we haven't used these, why don't we have the plan to use those for more staff development days?
So we did, yes.
Don't use the asynchronous days, why can't we use that so we can help parents with childcare and everything else that tends to come up?
We could, but the methodology that we used when we created this plan was that, number one, we valued in-person learning first. That was our highest priority. Second, if we couldn't get in-person learning, then we wanted synchronous learning. And the very last option was asynchronous. We chose the asynchronous 91st day because of the historical problem with the 91st day. Was a way to get our foot in the door. We knew we could pre-plan that asynchronous option for students and for staff so that we would make sure that it was meaningful and it wasn't like last minute thrown together because of a snow day, et cetera. You'll notice that all of the virtual inclement weather days in this plan were intended to be synchronous because we wanted live instruction. So if we can get in-person, even half days in-person later in the year, we need to get those in-person days based on the philosophy of how we structured this plan. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't consider half days in the future. We have talked about as a cabinet strategically looking at some of the half days based on what we have planned for professional development in the future, to possibly look at that. But for this year, because we're coming out of the pandemic, we know we had a post-Labor Day start, we have testing coming in May, we wanted to get as much in-person instruction as possible. And then if we couldn't, because of the inclement weather, we wanted synchronous.
But as I understand it, this is a plan submitted to the state for any possibility of the virtual day, so why wouldn't you include it as a possibility? Because right now, it's not included as the plan as you have it written as a possibility.
At least what's presented.
Yeah, at least what's presented here, you don't have it as a possibility.
It is not in the.
So why wouldn't, my question is, why wouldn't we include it in case we would change our mind in March or April?
I mean, we could do that.
We can only do 3 asynchronous. So,
Well, yeah, but if you don't have any inclement weather, and
Right.
our weather's getting lighter by the year, you know, that is a possibility that we wouldn't have.
Matthew?
no, we can.
I mean, I can put it in that section of the plan.
My question goes to, page 4, it says, parents will be provided opportunities to write comment on the plan. When have they been given that opportunity?
We did take it to some stakeholders, we've taken it to some groups of stakeholders.
We did take it to a few, yes, but tonight would be their opportunity. They would have had to know that it's on the agenda, and they could have certainly talked about it at public comment at that point. I don't know where the board's comfort level is with that.
Second question, what's the date that this has to be submitted to?
They did not give us a deadline.
I make a motion to postpone consideration until the November meeting.
Make this the first reading.
Yeah, can we finish the discussion? Well, we
Yeah,
can-
but I'd like to.
Yeah, so, oh, yeah.
And then we can discuss that.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to postpone,
The action.
the action, to the next meeting. So there's a second. Is there discussion about that?
There is, and I agree, because it goes back to what we did in the past on many things. It's on the website for anybody interested. They have an opportunity for about a month to give their input. But this is our first view of this, correct? So then we have a month to table it for anybody who has questions. And it would be good before our next meeting, is an action item to have the whole thing of what is being sent to the state, to see if there's something that we're missing.
A question real quickly, and we'll take the vote. If virtual day is called after school has let out that day, okay, we find out at 5 o'clock sometime, and students don't have internet, how do they get the packet?
So that would be a scenario where we would call a traditional snow day. So we would only be using a virtual synchronous day when we are very, very confident that a significant storm is coming, and we are able to call that by very early in the morning, the day before.
And that's what we did this past year. The forecast was off a little bit.
That's what happens when it's all.
That sunny day.
Right, that's right. Yep, yeah.
But we also called 2 days in a row, and we've talked about the fact that we probably wouldn't do that this go around. We'd probably just do it 1 day at a time.
Yeah, there ought to be some provision on that, how we can take it back if the storm doesn't.
Yeah.
We talked at length about that. We did take,
So what would happen if you said on Friday, we're not gonna have school on Monday?
it would it would not be likely at all that we would call it on a Friday for a Monday. That would be too far out. It would be too far out to plan for Monday, unless, something like Sandy where, there's some.
Well, Thursday, no day, they wouldn't have a way to
Right, then we would
package
just
the-
do, right, and we can, Mr. Van Sickles might too, we could certainly write in that there was, we could look for other.
I think you rated all possibilities, as included in your
Right, we
plan.
could certainly do that,
Right.
yeah.
Not just, I just have one more question. Promise. And it's just the devil's in the detail here, because I'm not sure how they provide synchronous learning when they're at home. Do they have a way to, if Google Meet, do they send out a link to all the students and then every teacher knows how to do that?
Oh, absolutely. That's what we did during the virtual, when we were virtual for many months, we used the same process.
Everybody has their own, would set up their own class.
Yes, yep. They would put a Google link right into their Schoology platform, and students will be able to click on that, and they would just jump right into a Google Meet, so.
So in the case of high school students, they would change depending on what,
Yep.
where the class would be. Okay.
Yep, just like they did when they were in virtual. The current students and current teachers will be very familiar with this process, and any new teacher, we will make sure they have the appropriate training to be able to do it.
Okay, ready.
On the first page, under your background information, just for clarification, the second bullet, the days that may be considered for this opportunity may include inclement weather days, staff professional learning days, high school graduation days. High school graduation, does that mean our seniors?
So some school districts around the state have graduation on a weekday, and they could make that day a virtual day for students so that staff could attend the graduation.
That's straight from the guidance from
It's straight from the guidance. We're not
Okay,
planning
well, I want to know.
No. We'll include the professional development days and inclement weather in the plan.
I also recommend to keep, for the board, the website, have a link to the presentation here, but also the larger one.
full plan.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
That's what we'll get,
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second to not accept tonight the proposal and table it to the next meeting. Pardon me?
For action next.
Postpone.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Table, we have to make a motion to.
Exactly. A motion to postpone until November. It has been seconded. Those in favor of the postponement, think about saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we'll look at it again in
So
November.
just a quick question, in November then, will you want a full presentation on that, or will we'll just post it and you guys can review it and ask questions?
Any comments? Yeah.
And any comments? Okay.
Hopefully get our questions to you before the meeting.
Excuse me?
Hopefully get our questions to you.
Yeah.
before the
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
I have one. When you look at your virtuals, well, page numbers, access to instruction. The last one, students without internet access will be given hard copies of assignments in advance if possible. What about the hotspots? During COVID, we got all these hotspots. Like, is that something that could be, if you say the day before and you know who doesn't have internet, is that a possibility to send the hotspot home with children?
So we did do hotspots last year when we did this, but we were also much closer to the coming out of the pandemic. And we are now moving more towards a normal operation. So at this time, we would not be planning on implementing hotspots.
Okay, so normal operation. I know your high school kids have their device, they take it back and forth every day because they do their assignments on it. So they would have it with them. What about your elementary?
They would go home because the call would be made early on the day before. They would take their device home on that day.
So would their work already be loaded? If they didn't have internet, that's what I'm trying to
Then they're
understand.
given a paper packet.
They would be given.
And then upon return, if there's a need for direct instruction, maybe a student didn't get something, they didn't understand something, the teachers would be expected to support that.
So is a day in advance enough time for teachers? Because there'll probably be multiple ones they have, would they be allowed, or would they have help to make the paper packet for students? Because that's giving them another layer of,
So we did meet with the union, and they certainly were in support of the plan, and we presented it as long as the decision was made before everybody's planning period on that day, that they would have enough time to complete the process of get that paper packet to the students.
so planning periods are different. Would any be the first period of the class, planning period for some staff?
Yes.
So it has to be made early in the morning than the day before?
We'll need to save questions for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to policies and procedures. JLIG, registered sex offenders entry into school property policy and procedure. So first read.
Good evening. All right. First reading of a new policy, JLIG, that the state has
Okay.
asked us to model and come up with a policy and procedure. This is registered sex offenders entry onto school property procedure. as you read down through this is not an adult policy. This is for student entry. It's whenever we would be notified that there is a convicted sex offender as a student, that we set a process in place to not have that student on school grounds, but we are required to provide them an education. And it can be a couple different ways, which are mentioned throughout the policy and procedure.
Okay, we've all, got it ahead of time. Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Hummel, is there, should we consider putting the word student in the title of this? I see that it's in section J, students, but I didn't know that might cause.
It can, we just took it straight from the language of the state model policy, so I'm not opposed to that. I mean, we can make it our own. I think it would clear up any confusion when you read it.
And it looks like the state policy says student registered sex offenders entry on school property.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, the only question I had about that is, I know the model is telling us what we should do, but as I read our administrative procedures, communication process, should arrange a meeting, shouldn't we say we will arrange a meeting? I mean, should means we can or we can't. It would seem like the verbiage we would want to use now that our policy is we will do these things. We will arrange a meeting. We will make it clear down through there. Parent guardian will be provided with. I mean, those are things that we're saying we're going to do. I don't know, just should leaves it open to doing it or not doing it. In my.
Yeah, we can check that. The heading up above says shall be followed. These all shall be followed.
Right.
There's a very easy change. We can certainly do that.
Gives definitive
Right.
answers to what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Those are the things we're gonna do. It's a precarious, I mean, I'm sure it happens in metropolitan areas a lot. Probably doesn't happen here a lot. Sex offender, that's a student.
No, I don't think we've had one that I can remember. Definitely don't have any as of right now.
Let's present I guess the virtual option at least gives us a better option than we used to have.
Yeah, we have home and hospital, the virtual, and then
It used to be the only option.
depending on the student's needs, there is the non-public option as well.
It's up to them to tell us, or we get word in some way, if we find out in some way that.
Our SROs would most likely let us know if there is a convicted.
Okay. They get an alert or something?
Yeah. Just like the ones we get for the adults that are nearby.
Any other questions? This is the first read, yes, Monica?
When you look at the procedure, B, background, the last sentence on there, well, I guess it's a whole big sentence, but the last word, limits the authorization of a student who's a registered sex offender from entering onto real property. I guess the real property is what's defined underneath the 1 and 2, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then when you go on to definitions, C, definitions, it says school property, buildings, land that surrounds the buildings, and vehicles that are owned or leased by a local school system. So I guess that includes our parking lots when it says land, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Even to bus stops, being on the bus, anything that has been deemed school property for years.
So even like after school, like sporting events and all that, that
Correct.
includes, okay. So that's fine, I just wanted to make sure. Pretty.
Any other questions? This is first read. Thank you.
See you next month.
Oh.
You didn't have nothing there, did you?
Social studies curriculum for elementary.
That was.
This is an action item.
Yes, it is. The materials were shared at, well, Northern Middle, we call it North Grainsville right now. Ruth Enloe Library here in town, and of course, online, we did have feedback at the Ruth Enloe Library. It was just the comment that you saw where they were reviewed. And then the online portion was for our teachers who feel very strongly about
having something updated from 17 years ago, and they were all in favor. So I don't, it's just, again, this is the DBQ model, which is the document-based questions. It does heavily support the implementation of vocabulary, writing, and then the background knowledge needed to support students for comprehension overall. And it is highly favored by our teachers. As a matter of fact, I'm getting requests on a regular basis to have samples to pilot, but I've told them to wait until you all have made your decision.
Okay, let's get a recommendation from the superintendent.
Yeah, since the materials were out for a month for review and the reviews were positive, and we do need an updated curriculum, I recommend for action that we approve the new curriculum this evening.
Okay, superintendent's asked us to approve the new social studies curriculum for elementary students. Is there a motion as such?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Rodney? Second. Second by Jason. You have discussion? Any questions about the presentation we had last month? Yes, Juan?
So when, it passes, is be able to be used by teachers with their students?
Well, if it passes tonight, we have the permission from the company for our lead teachers who are creating the shell courses to go ahead and implement with that, which means they would have the digital resources, and then the purchase order and the requisition would be processed tomorrow, with the idea that teachers still have to have by contract the 30 days to review and to consider before they start implementation. My hope would be that we would have materials ready to go for full implementation across the board in January.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Great. We have a motion on the floor in a second to adopt social studies curriculum. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. And it is unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, one last item, our capital improvement plan. This is an action item for tonight. Mr. McGlosky will present.
Yeah, this, here tonight to request approval for the GCPS 2024-2029 proposed capital improvement plan as presented at last month's board meeting.
Superintendent Baker, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend that you approve the CIP, so that we can move on the next steps of submitting it to the state. I think it's very well organized this year and comprehensive. My recommendation is to approve it.
Okay, superintendent is requesting that we approve the GCPS 2024 through 2029 proposed capital improvement plan. Is there a motion as such?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Rodney. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Matthew. We do not have discussion. Questions about the CIP plan? CIP. Yes, Ron.
When I look at it, on your first page, okay, like the second block, second one down, it says Southern High School New Innovation. Then you have a one in parentheses, and it says below. Well, I wasn't quite sure what it meant, and then I turned around and I see it, and it says footnotes. That's what you're referring to your number one, correct?
Yes.
Maybe we could put footnotes there instead of below. You have number, like it's your number one footnote, your number two footnote.
Okay.
Okay, I have some questions too.
Go ahead.
Okay, under your second block, you have Dennett Road existing condition survey and schematic design, and you have a price. So that means, I think I asked part of this last month, that would be if you relocated the central office that we are currently in and put everybody in Dennett Road, is that correct?
Correct.
But in order for that to happen, would our Head Start have to vacate Dennett Road facilities and move into the new elementary school?
Yes.
Okay. So then it would only be for central office employees?
Correct.
Okay. It says design, like currently, there's food made there in the cafeteria, correct? For the Head Start, and do we, like, send some of that food to other schools? Or not? Or is it more a warehouse?
In a conversation with Mr. Jermaine, we would not prepare food at this site anymore.
Oh, okay,
This would all be incorporated into the project at Southern Middle School.
okay,
We'd abandon the kitchen there.
okay. So, next question would be, in this, currently, once in a while, we have to have our board meetings there because there's more, room if we have people attend. Would that still be something, or or are you considering taking away the big part of
Now,
the?
the vision would be that that current cafeteria would be like a community space,
Okay,
hold board meetings, do PD sessions, so on, you know, and be available to the community. Yes,
okay, so that part would still.
yeah, that would still be there.
Okay. Okay, when you go down the same second block, Crellin School feasibility study, we have that on there, a price. But then when you go to the third block down, it says Crellin School A&E placeholder depend upon feasibility study. And I know, I think I asked before, like, if you look at everything, that doesn't have a price, it says TBD. And I know, I believe it said, hard to put a placeholder amount when we don't know what the schematic design will say, correct?
Yeah, the results of the feasibility study.
Okay, but when I looked, I guess I'm used to it, when I looked at, CIPs in the past, I put one out, because I thought that normally we always had something there. Like it was a Southern Middle Bradford renovation, we had a price for the feasibility study, something else. I just remember in the past, we normally put, I know it's an estimate, it's not a rough
Right, and I think it's appropriate in this place because, you know, with the plan and the potential, now the decision was made for the grade bands, the previous CIPs kind of assumed it was gonna kind of stay the same, and whether it was renovate or add. But I think now with the addition of the pre-K and the sixth grade, I think it's more feasible to leave it to be determined until we kind of get a scope of what that looks like, whether it's a renovation, rebuild, so on and so forth.
Okay. On the third one down, it has the projects listed below are contingent upon future facility considerations. And you've got, several ones there. Accident roof, accident parking lot, Route 40 roof, Route 40 air conditioning, Route 40 curb. Okay, then you go down, 1, 2, 3, the fourth one. Are those still considered, or contingent upon future facility considerations, or just those? I wasn't quite sure. So is it just that first one, 1, 2, 3, is it just on those 5? And then the next 3, I guess, aren't on it, right? They're not contingent? The Southern Middle Bradford renovation, the Hickory roof replacement, and the Denton Road renovation, central office,
Yes.
A&E.
At this immediate moment, that's, yes.
Okay. Because then the next one, you have the project, that means just one, correct? Does it have the estimate of it? It's contingent upon future facility considerations. And it says Friendsville roof replacement site work, feasibility study, okay? I gotta see where it was. I had on my notes about the Hickory, the pool.
Yeah, that's
I've
under,
seen it on here somewhere.
yeah, so, footnote 5.
Oh, it was on the footnote, that's why I see it, okay, yep. The Hickory pool renovations along with the window and block repairs at central office removed from the CIP. A partnership has been developed to utilize the pool at the park. So we touched on that a little bit ago, but my question is, okay, currently the pool at Hickory, I know it was used, during the summer when we had, summer
Correct.
camps? But it's not, is it used during the school year when children, okay, would it have been used during the summer, like when, what is it? Was it 5th grade used to stay there for a couple days? Do we still do that? 5th grade stays there in the summer?
I think it went to day trips though, right?
Day trips,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, anything
since
that's,
the pandemic.
anything that's summertime,
That's,
and weather is the pool.
okay,
During the school year, as part of the instructional day,
okay.
now we're doing the fifth grade swimming all that at the Carter.
Right, right, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was my next question. If they were going there for the Hickory and the planetariums, I didn't see how we could transport them to the Clark in that time frame. So that's more for things that occur during the summertime.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said we removed this off CIP, the block prepared central office.
Yeah, we did some, you saw the boom out front,
Yeah.
we did some work out there, I think enough to last us to get through this.
Okay. And that's contingent on the A&E design to move to General Road facility.
Yeah, we need to figure out what we want to do there, what it's gonna cost and all this stuff.
Okay. And in your footnotes again, number 2, the addition of portables at Broadford to accommodate the 6th grade will be determined through enrollment analysis at the end of school year 22-23. So are we saying, June when school's over, you'll see what our enrollment is to determine?
Yeah, we'll make that decision once we see the enrollment at the conclusion of this year. So the summertime, we'll look at it and make the determination, if we need to move forward to purchase portables to be installed the following summer as part of the beginning of the project. It'll give us 1 calendar year to kind of get that in place.
So this will be for the 6th grade, that was voted on last month, of what I recall, for Yaw Glades and Crellin Elementary. Is that
Right.
correct? And Broadford they would stay there.
Correct. And there was a request by Mr. Blogfelty to also, as part of that, look at portables at Yaw Glades potentially, maybe where the basketball court is on the side there, to keep the 6th grade there as part of that. It's an idea, if we have to, but we'll look at that also as an option.
So what we have now, they're not really considered, they're modulars, correct? That's what's on to Broadford?
No, they're portables.
They're portable, but we made them
Yeah.
kind of permanent.
Yeah, the ones at Crown are considered modular because they're pretty much built into the building now, the way they were done.
Okay. When you did Northern, they rented them, is that correct? Or were they purchased? Because they weren't used anywhere else, were they?
I believe we rented those.
That was a few.
None of us were in these positions. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. We don't have them anymore.
But we do own the ones at Broadford.
Right, right. So this one here, was that to purchase them or to rent them?
This will be a lease or rent, yeah.
Okay. So when this is approved, like we've always asked, the things on 22 to 23, those have already been approved, correct? Like the Yaw Glades, you had somewhere the spring of 23 to do the air conditioning there, Northern High School
Yeah,
air conditioning.
everything on the top has been approved. In the case of the Northern High Security Festival, it is complete.
Uh-huh.
And the other ones are in the process of the A&E stage or.
So this, the funding then we're looking for is more, I mean, they always like to have many years out, but it's more for the fiscal year 24, correct?
Yeah. So the request, did you see, that's listed under 24 is what we will ask statewide and locally as part of, to support our CIP.
Okay. So when you look at some of the items, will be supported by the Board of Ed, correct? The Northern Wastewater Treatment Plant, it says?
So that'll be the county.
Oh, sorry, Board of Ed, sorry. The Board of Ed, there's 3, and then the 1, I guess, whatever aging schools does that cover, that we will cover the remainder of, is that correct, for the Yaw Glades Playground?
Yes.
Okay. And then is that right, existing condition surveying, schematic design? The portable at Broadford, which that will depend on the enrollment numbers. That's $650,000.
Yeah, that'll be a request to the Board of County Commissioners.
Right, okay. And the Board of Ed, the feasibility study on Crellin Elementary.
Yes.
So we'll have, two main things going on, the feasibility study at Crellin and the survey and schematic design on moving central office to Dennett Road, correct?
Yes.
So the time frame about the same for both of those to be taking place for Dennett Road and Crellin, the design and the study?
Yeah, we would, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, one note on 24, the 25,000 for Dennett Road
Mhm.
was listed under the local cost.
You mean Board of County Commissioners?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
take it off the county commissioner request.
So it would be the County Commissioners or the Board of Ed,
It
sorry,
would be for us, we would
Yeah,
fund
yeah.
that through our.
for the Crellin School feasibility study and the Dennett Road.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, they both say Board of Ed, you're correct. And then just the balance on the Yonk Lakes Playground.
Yeah.
And did we currently have these in our budget? Were they in our?
Mhm.
I was just trying to
The
make
old
sure.
one.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the new, not the one that we are in.
This one.
Yep.
Right,
They're accounted for.
yeah, that's what double checking to make sure. I guess that's one question.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Questions? Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Second, to adopt the GCPS 2024-2029 capital improvement proposed plan. Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
And it is a 3-1.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
And we now have student member report. Alexis?
Thank you. GCA SC officers met at Brenda's Pizzeria last night, and we discussed the agenda for the upcoming General Assembly that we will have at the Garrett College, October 20th. We are also planning to create a theme for a tree to put out for the Festival of Lights, Festival of Trees. The Fall Leadership Conference is being held Saturday, November 19th at Lindell Middle School. There's a handful of people from GCSC that are planning to attend, including me. And then with local student council, Southern High is still hosting their blood drive. That's set for October 24th from 9 to 2. And this Thursday, Southern is hosting a powder puff game where the girls will be playing flag football and the boys will be cheerleading. And then, we also worked on a dress swap where certain select students could look at dresses that have been donated over the years and pick out one. And then,
You already did that, or that's, you already did that?
we have done that for the, fall homecoming that's coming up at the end of October. We only opened it up to kids that are in need of them, and then, but we're hoping to host another one for winter and probably maybe even prom to open it up to anyone and everyone, so. And then, Southern High held a college expo today where the juniors and seniors had the opportunity to speak from different college representatives, including Garrett, Allegheny, and Prosper colleges.
How many colleges were there?
I personally didn't count. I'd say there was probably like 10, 15. Most of them were all local. But it was still a nice experience to talk to them, especially with like getting applications in, because that's coming up, so. Yeah.
Have you had discussions, I was reading somewhere, have you had discussions about taking SAT school? Yes. Tell me about your discussions about that.
Like if colleges are accepting them or not, and like.
Yeah, how are you being counseled, I guess, is a better word, as to whether you should take them, shouldn't take them?
So personally, I am not submitting mine. I took it, but I'm not submitting them just because that was my decision. But I've talked to almost, like all of the colleges I visited or talked to, that are test optional, it doesn't reflect
like, you not submitting a SAT score doesn't reflect or hurt your chance of getting in. They basically are only looking at what you submit. So the difference between like a student that submits them and doesn't, like, it doesn't increase their or decrease their chances, which is what multiple colleges have told me. So I think it's more so a personal decision right now, for students, and a lot of colleges are leaning more towards being test optional for more years to come, so.
Do we still have an SAT class?
Yes, there's
I
an
know
SAT
it's
prep class.
Yeah, so what's the thoughts on that? Or are there thoughts yet? Maybe.
I don't know that there are thoughts yet, but I do know that we have the SAT prep, and I'm pretty well, we ordered books for Northern, so I know that they are offering it this year, and, I don't know if Southern's offering it this year or
Yes,
not.
I know they are, and I've heard from multiple people, it's still very beneficial. Like, I would have taken it, but I just couldn't fit it in my schedule. So, but I have heard that it is like very beneficial, and I think a lot of students are still taking the SAT, 1 or 2 times to take it in case, but it's up to them if they want to submit them or not.
Do we still pay for the SAT?
Pay?
One time we were doing.
No, but I do know when I was at Southern, it was only one section if it made, so not a lot of students were taking the SAT prep. Generally, it was an elective, that didn't have high numbers in it. It certainly fluctuates year over year, but most students.
It's kind of a new ringer. I mean, that was always the standard, get into almost any university. And now it's almost like, man, they really don't care if you take it or not.
Didn't they use the SAT sometimes deciding whether a student would get the merit scholarships from the universities?
Yes, some still use, there's a number of scholarships they still use the SAT scores for.
And that would, if you score real good on it, that's
Yeah,
a good reason.
which is kind of why I took it, for the purpose of to see where I placed, but also for scholarship reasons, to have that.
And you may see that change as people reach it from the foundations, reach back out, because when you set up those scholarships, they set SAT requirements. So if they ask the founders to remove that, they can.
Other questions?
You said the festival trees, I guess, Southern and Northern both. I believe normally the student council do the. I know GCSE is going to have a tree of their own at Festival of Trees. I'm not sure about Northern, but I'd like to have for student council to have one as well. Because I think we have done that in previous years too. So I think that'd be good to put a Southern one there too.
Question. Do you get, your junior year, are you getting a lot of information from your counselors about applying for colleges, like common application, that type of thing?
No, not really. I have mainly got a lot of information from the colleges themselves, which I only really found out most about them was from when, like, my mom would encourage me to go and like visit these schools early instead of doing it like during my senior year. I did it over the summer. So that was when I talked to the college admissions. I was able to find out dates for when things, like the Common App opens, when deadlines are, that sort of thing. Because I do feel like a lot of students don't know, don't know when deadlines are or don't know when they open. So.
Do they still do a junior-senior checklist in the counseling center for kids going to college?
If they do, I don't know about it. I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. The counselors, they're there if you have questions, but when it comes to college, it's not like they're really guiding you for it.
And I ask you these questions because I received similar feedback from some other students that weren't aware of the Common App, and of course, once they miss that deadline, have to fill out an application for each school. So I think we probably need to do better at that.
Yeah, I'm writing a couple notes.
Rodney?
I just wanted to comment that at the May conference, they had a panel of student board members, and I was very impressed with them. And just like our student representative, it's a really good group of young students. And, it was really impressive, their range of knowledge and to hear about what their concerns were. And I won't go into it, but they did have some specific concerns. But basically about things that affected them.
Any other questions? Board member reports, anything?
Just that we scheduled with Northern and Southern High School for, Maryland's Scholars Program, so we will be speaking about that, this month and beginning of next month in November.
Can I sit downstairs?
Great. So my next question for you.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the MAVE conference was very beneficial this year. I think, number of us attended, and, there was very good presentations, good motivational speakers. The state superintendent's presentation was good. He's a really data-focused guy, and he has like many, many things that we don't usually see. And I think he's committed to actually getting that to us as fast as possible. So, I look forward to that. I mean, as Matthew alluded to earlier, I mean, there was one part of his presentation where they had like literally 24 or more maps across to see how you ranked in all these levels, and it's just something, information that I think is very useful to the board members when you're setting policy. So I think he's on the right track as far as getting us information we need in a timely manner to help us with strategic planning.
I just sent the links to all the presentations, including the presentation by the state student, so that has some of that data on there. Especially looking at those poverty maps and some of the other information related to that's pretty interesting.
That's contradictory.
Anything else? Yeah. If there was an informational item in your packet, including the financial reports there, for you to look at.
And school activities.
And the upcoming school activities.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Second, Senator Matthews. All